In this video, we're going to look at the differences between pass by value and pass by reference in C. So if you have started programming with C language already, you must have come across pass by value or pass by reference concept in C language. And some people find it confusing. And I want to use this video to explain the differences. If you have not yet started programming with C, I will try to make this video as basic and as simple as possible. But if you are interested in me making another video where I would go, step by step, go through step-by-step process on the basic syntax of C so that you understand the syntax, the functions, and the terminology in essence, I would so much love to do that. So please, you can just leave a comment in the comment section so that I would know of your interest. Alright, if you like this video, at the end, please, you can help me like and subscribe so that that way you're supporting my channel. Alright, so I've written 2 comments here. If you want to comment in C, we use this /, just double /, like this in front of any line of code. So what that simply means is that line of code will not be part of what will run. Alright, so we said in pass by value, only copies of the original values is passed or called. Original value or original variable, we're talking about the same thing. Alright, so what that simply means is that if you have a variable, okay, I'm going to do something now. Include stdio.h. Just going to do this, then I'm going to do int main void. Alright, so I'm going to put my curly braces. Okay, so this is the first basic syntax of C. For those of us that are new to C programming, we must add a preprocessor. This is a preprocessor #include, and the next thing we must add is the header file which we want to work with. In this case, I want to work with just standard io.h, which is standard input and output.h, because I need printf, and printf and some other basic functions, they live inside this header file. Alright, then this is the function where we are going to be writing all our code inside line by line, and we're going to be ending each line of code with our semicolon. In the end, I'm going to return 0 to indicate that I've ended that code. You understand? Alright, so this is what I was trying to do. I was saying if we declare a function, if we declare a variable something like this and say int a equals 5. Now for those of us that are new to C programming, I just have to inform you that if you're declaring a variable or a value in C, you have to declare the data type just behind the variable letter or the variable name, in this case a. If it's an int, in this case you simply mean it's an integer. So if it's a float, I could do this float a equals 5, but that would indicate that a is a decimal and it's stored as 5.0. But I'm not working with that. Like I said, those are for another video. Thank you. So when you declare a is equal to 5 as an integer, it gets a certain memory location. It gets stored in the memory of your system. It gets stored in a certain position in memory. But the fact is, if you pass by value, a copy of this a would go and be stored in another memory location different from where this guy was stored. So that is the difference. Then that copy that was stored somewhere else, you can do any alteration to it, you can change it, and it will not affect this original copy, which is a. But in pass by reference, you can see I just put the original variable is altered. Eventually we're going to know why it's altered, but the fact is there is no copy in pass by reference. Instead, you are linking the new variable to where the old one was stored. You are kind of storing it in the same location per se, or will I say you're giving it access to that memory location so that it can change it, it can alter it, it can do any magic with it as it sees best fit. Depends on the function you write. So in this case, I'm going to create a swap function to illustrate my points. We're going to first declare 2 variables that we are going to swap eventually. I'm going to first of all print these variables before swapping them so that you will see that this is how they were. And I'm going to say a is A is this, A is 5, of course, that is A is A, and I'm going to just copy this. Whoa, Control Z, thank you. Okay, I'm going to do B is B. Okay, so what I've done here is, of course, I'm just printing it out. If I save this and I run my code, you can see A is 5, B is 10. Now they are joined together, it looks ugly, so I'm going to put \n here so that after A is 5 you get B is 10 on a new line. So but after doing that, I'm going to call my swap function. Now I will create my swap function after, but this is how you call a swap function. You call the name of the function and give it the values that you want to give. You want to be inputs to the function, or you want the functions to work with. All right, because anytime we write a function, we actually put certain variables here, and those variables are called parameters. But now these values here are called arguments. So for those of us that are used to C, we should understand, but for those of us that are new to C, these are the arguments we are going to pass to our function. Okay, so I've called it now. I believe we should go and write it now. So how do we write our function? Now our function can either return a value or not return a value. So if it's returning a value, we're going to start with the data type that it's returning, if it's an int. But in this case, my function will not return anything, so I'm going to start with the void. I will write the name of the function, which is swap, as you can see from here. So swap, then I'll write the parameters and the data type of the parameter, which is key. So I have int m and int n. So now there's nothing wrong if you write int a and int b, your code is still going to work. But people usually write different letters. It makes no difference. So like I said, this guy m and n are parameters. They are waiting to receive certain values which will be passed from the main function into them. So they are going to receive certain arguments that will be stored inside them. So now, and how will I put it in English, they receive those values according to the way they are arranged in a nutshell. So m is coming before n in the parameters, and in the argument a is coming before b. So what does that tell you? It means that anything a is will be passed inside m, and anything b is will be passed inside n. You understand? So what are we going to do inside our swap function? We're going to do something very basic. And what is that? We're going to say that our m, which is what is 5, we're going to say our m is going to be 10 now. So we're going to give it the value of b. And we're going to say our n, which is what? Okay, which is 10. Good. Which is 10. Our n is going to be 5 now. This is just what we're going to do. So we're going to swap. So after we do this, we're going to print. We can print it out here. Okay. Yeah, let me just do that so that you understand what I'm saying concerning reference and value. So I'm going to say that m or a is %d. Okay, and just do this. Just copy this. I'm trying to make the video as short as possible, so I paste it here. Good. So a is this, but in place of a here we should have m, and b is n. So we have something like this. All right, so I'm going to put \n here to make it look so that it will look well. I put another \n here and \n. So after swapping here, I'm going to call my print again. Since I've Control Z, Control C, okay. So this is what we are doing here. So I've initially printed A and B before calling swap. Then after calling swap, now inside swap I also printed inside swap. And after calling swap, I printed A and B again to see if they have changed. Remember, we're looking at pass by value for now, and I said from the beginning that the original value is not changed. The only copies are passed. So the idea is that the copy of 5 and 10 have been passed into M and N and have been stored in a separate location entirely. So let us see what we're going to have here. But before I print, I don't like having unnecessary errors when I know what to do. You have to copy this head of the function. I call it head. We can call it anything. It's called a prototype, function prototype. You are going to put it on the top of your just beneath your processor and just above your header file, your int main void, and you put, of course, you end it with a semicolon. Okay, then this guy which I put, okay, I think everything looks good now. I'm going to save. I'm going to run my code now. Let's see what we have. Okay, this one looks ugly, which is this, the second. So I'm going to put \n here, the one inside the function, so that it will look beautiful. I want everything on step-by-step lines. So now we have 3 different sets of results for A and B respectively. Let's analyze them carefully. The first time we had A is 5 and B is 10. That was just before swap function was called. We got what we desired because we actually said A to be 5 and B to be 10. But the next, when we called swap, inside swap, we printed A is M and B is N. And what did we get? You can see that we actually got that A is 10 and B is 5. So there was a swap there inside the swap function. Now, when we came out of the swap function back into our main function, we printed again. And what are we having now? We're having the same thing we had before. So there was no change. There was no single change. It means that every change that we made inside the swap function was only affecting M and N. And I want you to remember that M and N, there's what we call local scope. M and N do not live outside of this local scope. That's the scope of this function, void swap or swap. So we cannot use M and N outside. If I declare M here now for any purpose that maybe print M here, I'm going to get an error. So M and N are local variables to this function swap. You get that? So that is the idea of pass by value in a nutshell. Only copies are passed, as we can see clearly here, that when after calling swap, when we printed, we were still getting the same values of that A is 5 and B is 10. So what is pass by reference now? Now, for pass by reference, we're going to introduce something called pointers. And pointers are like, how will I put it? Pointers store addresses of where variables are stored. Like I said, if you want me to do an in-depth video, just comment. I'm going to do an in-depth video on pointers. I'm going to do another in-depth video on C programming language basics, the syntax, so that you can understand it, because C programming language is very interesting and is widely used. Many of the higher level languages are, they were given birth by C, or they were on the fundamental levels, on the low levels, they were written with C. Okay, so pass by reference. The first thing we have to do is to declare pointers. We've declared our variables A and B here, so I'm going to now declare pointers. Now the way we declare pointers is like this. So I'm going to declare 2 pointers. One is going to point at A and the other one is going to point at B. So I'm going to do this. I will say P1 is equal to, P1 is pointer 1, that's pointer to the first one, is equal to ampersand, which is our AND symbol called ampersand of A. So what ampersand of A mean is that take the address of A, not A, take the address of A. So that gives P1 the power to go to point at where A is located, so it can find it anytime we want to. So then I will do the same thing. This is how we declare pointers. Instead of just saying int, then you mention the variable name. You first put your asterisk before you mention the variable name. So I'm actually trying to make this easy so that those that have not been familiar with C at all would understand. So that is why the video is longer than I would have expected, because somebody that have not done pointers at all, if I just start writing all these things, to be like we can't carry them along at all. So I'm going to do the same thing, but in this case, I'm going to assign the address of B. Like I said, P1 is not pointing at A, but it's pointing at the location of A. Good. So once we have this now, we're going to do something now. We are going to say in swap here, instead of passing A and B, the values of A and B, we're going to pass and A or and B. We're going to pass and A and B. So what have we done here now? We've passed the address of A and the address of B. So, but another thing we'll now do, remember these guys, these parameters inside swap function, we are not receiving pointers. They were actually receiving just normal values, normal numbers. So we have to declare them like this, say in star m star n, to indicate that they are now receiving pointers. To indicate they are now receiving pointers, I'll make the changes in my prototype here. They are receiving an address, no longer value, they're receiving an address, something like that. So what this implies now is my m here is now pointing to the address of where A is located. So A, remember we started by saying that A is stored in a certain memory location, and now we've given this parameter the ability to point to where A is stored. We're giving the second parameter the ability to point to where B is stored. So now the next thing to do is, instead of saying m is equal to 10 and n is equal to 5, that's just mere values. Now we're going to do this. We're going to say star m and star n, asterisk m and asterisk n. The difference is that this is a dereferencing operator, that this star. So what this implies is star m is now saying where m is pointing to, which is the location of A, Star m is saying go inside that location and store 10 there. So of course, when m will go into that location, m is going to see what? It will initially see 5 there, but it's going to remove that 5 and replace it with 10. So you can see the difference now. N is going to do the same thing. Star n implies that I'm going to go inside the location that n is pointing to. Remember, this star I put here is implying that it's now a pointer, no longer a mere value. Go into the location that n is pointed to, and when you went there, it will initially see 5, it will initially see 10. But when we go inside there, we're going to change it to 5 now. I'm going to change it to 5. So now another thing is, instead of printing this, I'm going to print star m and I'm going to print star n. So remember, star m is what is inside that location, and star n is also what is inside that location. I'm going to do this just to make my code look more beautiful. Okay, I just want an extra line here. That's what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so once we've corrected this now, after remember we are doing 3 steps. Initially we are printing A and B, then we are calling swap. We give swap the memory location of where A is, the memory address of A and the memory address of B. Then swap use pointers to point at them and go inside there and make the changes. Then it prints the new changed values. Then outside you are now printing what A and B is. So what do you expect us to get? Let's see. So I've saved my code and we are printing out now, and wow, look at what we're having. Initially we get A is 5 and B is 10, and that was before swap was called. And when swap was called, inside swap we printed A and B, and you can see we have A is 10 and B is 5. So why is this so? It's because we didn't just pass copies, we passed the addresses. Say like M, take the address of A, and N, take the address of B. As you can see, the ampersand A here is passing an address, unlike what we had before that we just said take A, take B values. In this case, take address of A, take address of B, do what you want to do with them. How do I alter them? I go inside using this dereferencing operator star. I go inside and I change M to 10 and I change N to 5, meaning I'm changing A to 10 and I'm changing b to 5. So I hope we actually, with this video where I use the swap function, I hope we have been able to understand the difference between pass by value and pass by reference. If you have questions, please be very free. I would love to answer in the comment section. If you have ideas of videos you want me to do, please also drop in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day.